All right. This session we're going to deal with responsibility. We're going to start, the last 3 sessions will be on responsibility, self-discipline, and thinking and problem solving. I take them in this order because, in a sense, this is the first thing your child does on their own, is they start thinking for themselves. Anybody that has tried to potty train someone knows this is where it all begins. And these things come along afterwards. But in terms of understanding how we're working on discipline, this is really where we focus first, because we're doing the thinking and problem solving originally for a small child. The point I'd like to make about that is that if the child is going to grow up and be independent, we have to be turning this over to the child, the thinking and problem solving, just as much as the responsibility and the self-discipline. But in a sense, what happens is as the child becomes more responsible and as the child becomes more self-disciplined, then they get more opportunity to make their own choices, which is what thinking and problem solving is about. Take 2. They have the opportunity to become more independent, to have more freedom, to have more choices. And it's all the same word. By the way, the consequence that works every time is the consequence which removes some choice that the person wants, whether it's a grown-up or a child. So when you think about consequences and what will work and what won't, think about it in terms of whether or not the choice that the child loses is a choice that this child does not want to lose. And that could be anything from a small child being spanked who doesn't want to be spanked and has lost the choice not to be spanked. Remember, controlling my own consequences? See, with a very small child, they already, by their behavior, can control what happens to them. So anything from a small child losing the choice not to have to stand in the corner, losing the choice not to have to go to their room, up to losing the choice to not go any place this weekend because your grades are falling down and you're going to have to spend the time studying. It doesn't matter at what age we're talking about. The consequence that burns is not necessarily the actual consequence itself, but rather the choice about it happening or not happening is what stings. Think about it yourself in your own life. What do you hate to do? You hate to lose your right to make your own choices. That is the loss of freedom, is when I can't choose for myself anymore, when somebody else is choosing for me, then I've lost some of my freedom, some of my right to run my own life as an adult. Well, it doesn't matter whether you're 5 or 50. Losing your right to run your own life by losing the choices to do it is what consequences are really about. And that's really what it amounts to when you say, if I'm going to treat you as a child, you're going to lose your choices. Over here, think about it. Door 3, what is it? I can do what I want, and I don't lose any choices. No consequences. I don't lose any choices. So that's another way to think of it and to evaluate a consequence in terms of whether or not it promotes the child thinking more seriously about being grown up. Okay, we're going to do responsibility. And there was a family that came in to see me, and they had a son who was around 12 or 14. I think it was about 14. Didn't matter, but early teens. And they had had a problem with him in that the week before, he was with a ski club. And they went skiing, and it was the first part of the season, and he was getting ready to go, and there was a van there with about 8 or 10 kids in it, and the driver and a couple of the skier chaperones that go along with him. And he was headed out with his skis and stuff, and his parents saw him and they said, "Where's your jacket?" And he said, "I'm not taking it." He said, "What do you mean you're not taking it?" "I'm not taking it." He's going to ski macho, t-shirt, really look good. And he said, "Yes, you are. You're going to take it." He says, No, I'm going to ski in just a t-shirt." They said, "No, you're not." And he got into this squabble about it. He said, "Listen, you're not going unless you take that jacket. So get up there and get the jacket." So he went up and he got the jacket and he brought it down, and they made sure that he put it in the van, and they headed off. The only problem was, guess what? they weren't there when he went skiing. And he went skiing macho, without the jacket. And he came home with a roaring cold. And they came to see me. This was only about Tuesday of the week, and he'd been out on the weekend. And they told me the story. He said, "What are we going to do?" And I said, "Well, what did you plan to do?" They said, "Well, we figured," they were waiting to come back and see me and talk about what they did. "We figured we'd just go in and really just give him a tongue lashing and tell him he can't go skiing next week." And I said, you could do that, but let's get down to the heart of the matter. He decided to do something and you had told him not to. He disobeyed you. So since he decided on his own, let's make him responsible for it. Did he have to go to the doctor? He said, "Yeah." I said, "How much was that?" They said, "Oh, it was $25 out of our pocket." I said, "All right." I said, "Any medicine?" They said, "Yeah." I said, "How much was that?" And I said, $13.95. I said, "Okay, just go in and give your son a bill for, what would that be? 25, 35, $38.95. $38.95. If I'm wrong, you can correct me later. Right? You just hand him a bill, $38.95. That's your bill. And then we're going to do something else, because you really want to bring home to this kid that he's the one who needs to worry about this. And so here's what you do. You say, "Son, we're really sorry we got in that argument with you about skiing with your jacket." And I said, "By the way, you can be sorry about something in which you have no blame or no guilt or no reason to be wrong. You can still be sorry about it." I said, "So just tell him, we're really sorry that we got in that argument with you about wearing your jacket. So we're not going to tell you that anymore. If you want to ski without your jacket, that's just fine. If you want to ski nude, you can ski nude if they'll let you. The only thing is, when you do it, you are responsible for everything that happens. Right now, it's $38.95. Next time, it'll be whatever it costs. And you will pay it. And I said, make sure that he pays it. And again, it's the thing, if the kid's got money, fine, you take it out of his money. If he doesn't have money, he works it off. And it can be something big. I had a situation where about a preteen, teenage, 12, 13-year-old girl thought it was really funny. She didn't think there was anything wrong with it. She was taking rocks out of their backyard. They were in a fairly new neighborhood, and they didn't have it landscaped yet. And she was throwing these up in the air and watching them splash into the neighbor's new swimming pool. Well, the only problem is, you know what happens when the rock hits the bottom of a new swimming pool? It chips a little place out of it. So she had tossed about 50 rocks in and made about 50 chips in the bottom of the pool, which cost $800 to repair. And the parents are saying, "What do we do?" I think she was 11 years old. "What do we do?" I said, "You're going to get a lot of housework out of that 11-year-old. And he said, "Well, how?" I said, "It's important. She needs to understand that this was a big, big, major mistake." And I said, "It's probably the only time you will ever have to do this, because kids don't forget something when you make that big an issue of it." Now, understand, big issue in what way? Hey, she did it. All they did was make her responsible for it. They didn't ground her. They didn't beat her up. They didn't do anything else. They just said, "Honey, you're paying for it." And what we were able to work out was that she paid for a lot of it by doing yard work for the neighbor. That really brought it home to her. So, make them responsible. And then make sure, be consistent, follow through on it. Don't say it if you're not going to do it. The idea is that responsibility is accountability. If I make you responsible for something, and then I stay out of it, the way that I turn over control to you, but I do not lose control, is I make you accountable to me for what you are now in charge of. And really, you see, I can't give responsibility. Do you ever think about that? Parents come in and say, "Well, we want to give our kids more responsibility." You can't. You can't give more responsibility. Who's going to take it? Here, there's a responsibility. Not mine. You want? No, I don't want it. Responsibility is something we have to accept or assume, or whatever word you want. Think about it. Any responsibility that is given to you you have to take. Now you hear, well, there's a lot of responsibility that's dumped on me that I have to take. That's right, but it's done because what? You do it because of the consequences of not taking it. Well, guess what? It's the same with your kids. The consequences of not taking the responsibility is the accountability. It's the same for you. You take on responsibilities you don't really want because you're held accountable, and the consequences are something you don't want to have happen. That's how it works with your kids. So you can't give them responsibility, but you can hold them accountable for either taking it or ignoring it. Works the same for them as it does for us, raising adults. This is, see, when my kids grew up, like my son, he went out in the world and they said, there's no problem out here. This is the way weird Dad ran it at home. Same thing, same rules. Exactly the same rules. So they already knew how to get what they wanted by working the system the way the system was intended to work. You cannot give responsibility. Remember that. You can give authority. People think, well, if you give one, you can give the other. No, you can give authority. And you can take authority away. Do you think about that? But you cannot give and take responsibility, except if you take it back. And then you're responsible again. Okay. You can give authority. You cannot give responsibility. You can take them both back. So what's the conditions? The child wants authority. The child wants choice. The child wants to think for himself and be in charge and make his own choices. I can give you that if you will what? If you will accept the responsibility that goes with it. I can't give you the responsibility, but I can offer it and hold you accountable. And if you do not accept it, what do? Well, part of the choice that you lose is the right to do your own thinking. I will do it for you. I will treat you as a child, and I will control the consequences. I was thinking I was going camping this weekend, and I was thinking you're staying home and catch up on your homework. And guess which one of us wins? In my household, everybody had a vote. It's just that mine counted for more than theirs. All right. Had a situation with one of my sons, won't tell you which one, was driving a car back and forth to school. It was his senior year, and he only had 2 classes left to do to graduate. So he was finished every morning at about, I don't know, 10:30, something like that. But we lived out, as I said, we had a horse ranch. We lived out in the country, and he took, normally you would take the bus back and forth. Well, the bus doesn't come back out till about 3 o'clock that afternoon. And so he said, Dad, would it be all right if I drove one of the cars back and forth to school because I'm finished at 10:30 and then I can do other things? And I said, sure, that's all right. So that's what he did. He drove we had a big Ford van, and he drove that back and forth to school. He was also playing in 3 different baseball teams. I think one of them was a school team, and one was, anyway, one's a kind of a semi-pro team. And so he was very busy, and he was working 20 hours a week in a gas station to just earn some extra money. So that was his schedule. So he really did kind of need transportation. But what happened was that his mother was driving the car one day, and it sounded kind of funny. So when she got home, she said to her son, check the oil in the car tomorrow. She said, it sounds like it may need some. So 2 days later, she was driving the car again, and it sounded the same. So she pulled into a station, and they put 5 quarts of oil in a Ford V8. They don't run well without oil. Now, I'm looking at the fact that I could very easily have been looking at a couple of $1,000s for an engine change. I was a bit steamed. That was the day I thought up the idea of you're grounded until we talk about this, because I knew if we talked about it then, the consequence would be I will kill you. And so anyway, I called him in and said, what went on? And I said, did you take care of, did your mother tell you to take care of it? Yes, she did. Did you do it? And his answer was, I put a quart of oil in the car. That was when I wanted to kill him. Remember, he was working 20 hours a week in a gas station. This is that, I don't know. So I said, okay, we'll talk about this later. And my kids knew. That wasn't the first time I had done that. That was the first time I'd done it to avoid killing somebody. But my kids knew that that meant, you see, I didn't chase after them. Parents are always chasing after the kids to talk about this stuff. Come on, sit down with me. And then the kid sits down and doesn't listen. They knew, in my situation, they were grounded until they came to me about it. Yeah, I didn't chase them. I don't care how long you want to be grounded. But you are going to be grounded till we talk about this. And by the way, when we do talk about it, I better feel like you are really listening and you're really getting something out of this. Because if you aren't, I will say, that's the end of the discussion. We haven't had the talk yet. You're still grounded. So they were really motivated to have a good, serious talk and really learn from it and really convince Dad that I have figured out what I need to about this, and I'm going to take responsibility and do it better next time. Because if that wasn't part of the talk, we hadn't had the talk. Again, it takes a lot of the pressure off. Particularly, I think, of just trying to chase them down. Then I went away to do a conference. I told him this, and I left the next morning, and I was gone for 3 days on a conference, came back. In the meantime, I'm sorry, I didn't ground him. I said he couldn't drive. Yeah, that was what was different. I said, you can't drive the cars. Because he still had to go back and forth to school, and he had a church group that he went to and stuff. He was having to walk to things that he couldn't get to by bus. And they had a midweek youth group that he walked the 8 miles to and from to get to it. So I know he was doing a lot of thinking while I was gone. Well, I got back, and I get a call at the office, and it's him, and he says, Dad, could we talk about this when you get home? And I said, sure. So that evening, I got home, sat down, and we talked about it, and I said, okay, tell me what went on. And I said, yes, Mom did tell me. So then I said, well, here, remember what I said about don't you tell them what they need to know? You have them tell you what they think you need to know. So I said, all right, tell me what went on. And he said, well, I did put a quart of oil in. I said, okay. And he says, but I don't understand, why did I have to do it? Mom was driving the car too. She could have done it. I said, yeah. I said, anything else? He said, no. And I said, okay. First of all, let me answer your 2 objections. 1, when you say you put a quart of oil in it, maybe you did. See, I wasn't going to call him a liar. What was the point of that? It had nothing to do with the situation. Because whether he put a quart in or not wasn't what he was told to do. He was told to check the oil and take care of it. Putting a quart of oil in, even if he had done it, which I don't know, maybe he did. I doubt it. I think that was to get him off the hook, that he hadn't done anything. It didn't matter. What mattered was he hadn't done what he was told to do, and that was check the oil and take care of it. So whether you put a quart of oil in or not, fine, doesn't matter. You didn't do what you were told. Second of all, yes, your mother could have taken care of it. In fact, she did take care of it 2 days later. The point is, she told you to take care of it, and that is all that needed to happen. It doesn't matter whether she's driving the car too. She told you to take care of it, and you were driving the car, and that meant you were to take care of it. Because we make the rules. Our house went by the golden rule. Those who make the gold make the rules. And so she told you to do it, you're to do it. I said, now let's get to the real issue. And the real issue is responsibility. I have given you the right to drive the cars for your own convenience and other things, your own freedom, your own independence. And I expect you to take care of my cars exactly the way I would take care of my cars. Because if you do not, you will never drive my cars again. In fact, the next time you get up to 60 miles an hour, it'll be because you can get that much out of your Adidas. I said, and if you don't know how I would take care of my cars, then I suggest that you find out right now from me or in the very near future, because there will be no second chances. If you make this kind of a mistake again, if you don't take care of my cars the way I would take care of my cars, that's it. And he knew that would have been it. I said, do you understand? And he said, yes, Dad. And I said, in a discussion, you can drive the cars. Now, he was either going to do it or he wasn't. There was no sense doing anything else. There wasn't any sense grounding him for a while or saying, you can't drive for a month. He was either going to learn from that he better take me seriously and never pull this stunt again, or he wasn't going to learn. Grounding him for a month, all it would have done was make him angry. Wouldn't have taught him anymore. Well, I was holding him responsible. Or what? I was holding him accountable. Right? That's what it means when you say, I want to give my children responsibility. Fine. The only way you can give it to them is to allow them the freedom to make their own choice and then hold them accountable for the choice they make. Okay. Had a situation where a mother came in and had a daughter who was 12, who was a clothes horse. Now, I don't know if any of you have run into this anyplace, but she was the kind that would try on 6 outfits every morning before she went to school to get just the right look. And Mom says the problem was that after she tried them on, they didn't go back on the hangers, they went on the floor. I said, well, the benefit of that is that if there are enough clothes on the floor, then the rug never gets dirty, because nobody ever walks on it. She didn't think that was funny. So I said, well, what do you want to do? And so I had some ideas in my head, and she said one of the problems was that ironing all these blouses, because the girl had a lot of blouses, and then she's got to wash all this stuff and iron it all again, and she was getting sick of that. And I said, well, why do you do it? Why don't you have her do it? She said, because when she tries to do something like that, she does a sloppy job. It's kind of like that thing about cleaning up the room we brought up the other day. You know, how do you get them to clean up the room and do it the way you'd like? Well, you just keep having them do it. And we could have had her say, you're just going to keep ironing that blouse until you get it right, because you need what? Practice. Hey? Mom, I've ironed it 7 times. Well, honey, that's okay. You see it's still got some wrinkles in here, so you go practice some more. 3 days later, Mom, but you're getting better, honey. Look at the bright side. You've got a career ahead of you. Eh? Okay, well, weird. That's why my kids call me Weird Dad. So my patients call me Weird Ben. So anyway, we decided we weren't going to go with that because she wanted something right away, and she wasn't really sure she wanted to go through all of this of trying to get her daughter to take care of the clothes and wash them and iron them and all. So I said, okay, let's do this. I said, tomorrow and see again, this is that thing about, do you tell them the consequences? No, because part of the lesson is life doesn't tell you the consequences. You have to figure them out. And if you figure wrong, then you find out, sometimes in ways you don't want to, that, those were the consequences. So I said, don't tell her, but tomorrow, whatever she leaves out, just pick it all up and put it in a box and put it away. And then do that the next day, and do that every day. Don't say a word to her. I said at some point she's going to notice that she hasn't got very many clothes in the closet, but in the beginning she's not going to think about that because she never had to. It was always whatever wasn't there, you were washing and ironing and taking care of, and it would show up in a short time. So she came back the next week, and she'd been doing this every day, 2 or 3 or 4 outfits every day. This girl had a lot of clothes, and it just happened to. So I said, anything been said yet? She said, no, not yet. I said, okay, keep it up. Next week she came back, and I said, how are things going? Anything you said? She said, yeah, 2 days ago. I said, oh, well, what happened? She said, I said, she noticed the clothes were. And she said, no, she didn't really pay much attention to that. She's down to maybe about 8 outfits is all that's left in her closet. What she noticed was that she had gone to the beach and gotten sunburned, and so she came home, and the sunburn was bothering her a little bit, and she wanted to just she took a shower and she wanted to get in some nice soft flannel pajamas. Well, she went to the drawer and there weren't any there because she'd been tossing those on the floor every day too with everything else. Nothing was being washed. So she came out and she said, "Mom, I don't have any pajamas." And her mother said, "I know." And she said, "Well, have you got any washed?" And her mother said, "No, I haven't, honey." Now the child is going to learn the consequence. And she's going to learn it, and this is why on some I delay, she's going to learn it at the point in which she is most interested in finding out about it. You tell her ahead of time, "I'm not interested now because I know you never follow through on stuff." All of a sudden, she's up against a crisis. I need it right now, and all of a sudden you're telling me I can't have it right now? Now you've got the child's attention. So she said, "No, honey, I haven't done any of them. If you want, you can go out and wash some." "What? You can go out and wash some." So she did. She went out and washed some pajamas and put them in the dryer and got them on. And she's still walking around kind of funny. And so Mom prompted her. She said, "Is there a problem?" And she said, "Well, why hadn't you washed my pajamas?" And she said, "Oh, honey, I need to explain something to you. Come on over here and sit down." Now, she's got her attention for curiosity if no other reason. And she said, "You may have noticed there aren't many clothes in your closet either." She said, "Yeah, I noticed a lot of it's out there." She said, "Well, there's a reason for that. You see, from now on, I'm not doing any of your laundry unless you take care of it. So if you don't take care of it, I'm not going to take care of it." Now, here's what's going to go on. You're not getting any of those clothes until you show me you can take care of what is left in your closet. And then she took and put them all away, what was still left out there that the child had seen. And she said, "If tomorrow you leave anything out, you lose it." And it's gone. If you don't, if you make sure that everything you're not wearing you hang back up or you put away, and you do that for the rest of the week, then on Saturday you can choose 2 of your outfits and you can have them back. If on the other hand I have to pick up anything, then you don't get anything back on Saturday. And then it starts all over again next week. Now that means from Sunday to next Saturday, if I have to pick up anything, you don't get anything back that week. If I go all week and you've put everything away all 7 days, then you get to choose 2 outfits that you can have back. And the daughter's looking at her like, what has happened around here? See, this is where you really get their attention. They're really paying attention right then, and that's what you want. And the daughter's kind of, "What do you want, Mom?" And then guess what she said? Because guess which outfits were left in her closet? The ones she liked most? Of course not. The ones that were left were the last things she'd ever wear. And she says, "But the stuff I've got in my closet, it's awful." And her mom said, "Gee, honey, that's too bad. I guess next week you'll have a couple of nice outfits to wear if you take care of stuff now." And that was the end of it. She came back the next week and I said, "How's it going?" She says she's been picking stuff up every day. She got 2 outfits back on Saturday, and that was a short week. But see, the idea was to prove to her every Saturday you'll get 2 outfits. If starting now that we have, remember I talked about the fence around and you set a new limit? Okay, the new limit happened to occur on Wednesday, but Saturday was going to be the deadline each week. So from Wednesday to Saturday she had her, and the idea partly was good. It gives her a short week to do this right for a few days and find out what the payoff is, what the consequences are, one way or the other. Hopefully she'll get something back and then she'll be encouraged to do the same thing next week. And that's what happened. From that point on, no more problem. And now when I say no more problem, I don't mean that she didn't leave something out, because a couple of weeks later she did, and guess what happened that week? She didn't get anything back on Saturday. See, and once this thing is set in place, you've got something operating either way. If the child act as an adult, pick everything up, put it all away, I'll treat you as an adult, you get 2 items back every week, and when you've got them all back, then you can keep them all. On the other hand, if you act as a child, and it doesn't matter when, 6 months from now you suddenly leave some stuff out, bingo, guess what happens? It's gone. And if it happens to be something you really wanted, it's going to be at least a week before you get it back. But that's my favorite blouse. Well, I guess it's going to be a while without your favorite blouse. Because remember, what's likely to be on the floor? Her favorite stuff. Sound a little bit like impact? It works even after you've got the child back to the place where they're paying attention. There are a couple of other things you can do with responsibility. One of them has to do with situations that aren't necessarily a matter of discipline, but maybe just a matter of the child wanting to avoid responsibility. And the one that I use as an example is when your child comes up with one of those things like, well, I don't know. You come home from school. Oh, where's your jacket? Well, I don't know. Well, you took it this morning. Yeah. Well, where'd you leave it? Well, I don't know. Now, most parents are really frustrated at that point. At that point, I say, hot dog, another training opportunity. Hey, I don't know. You don't know? No, I don't know. You really don't know? Say, oh, here comes the weird dad. No, I don't know. Well, honey, you know, I guess what you need is some practice. Doing what? Thinking. You go over to that table. See that chair there? Yeah, you sit down in that chair and think about where your jacket is. Now, why would I have them do it? Who else knows? Hey, I'm not going to be a parent who says, well, did you leave it in class? No. Did you leave it here? No. Why do I need to think all that stuff through? Now, if they need that much help, I shouldn't have them out of the house. No, you think it through. You ask yourself, where did I go? Did I leave it in class? No, I didn't leave it in class. Did I leave it? No, I didn't leave it. See? Not me. You go over, you sit down, you think it through, and when you have the answer, come and tell me. But in the meantime, don't go anyplace else. Don't do anything else. What's that? Loss of choices. Until you figure out where the jacket is, you aren't doing anything else. All your choices are gone until you figure out, not me, you figure out where the jacket is. Now, do they want to be responsible? No. They want, I don't know. See? I'm not responsible. I don't know. But I held them accountable. You don't know? Well, then it's your problem. You're going to have to figure it out, not me. Now, if things aren't at the point where you can't get them to sit in that chair until they figure it out, then we call in the impact team. But as long as they'll go over and sit down, I gotta think this thing through. They might sit there for about 10 minutes and think, well, you know, maybe I'll get out of this. I've been thinking for 10 minutes and I can't figure out where it is. Like, oh, okay, well, 10 minutes, that was enough then. No, you see, honey, I don't care how much time it takes. You can have as much time as you want. Don't worry if it's been 10 minutes. Don't worry if it's been a half hour. If you need all evening, I can even serve you dinner there. It's okay. Don't worry about the time. I'm not worried about the time. You take as much time as you need. Mom, I'm just being a good parent, honey. You know, if it only takes you 5 minutes, well, fine. I won't tell you to sit there for 2 hours if you can do it in 5 minutes. I'm not a mean parent. But on the other hand, if you need more time, I'm not going to say, you only get 5 minutes to figure this out. 5 minutes is up. I didn't figure it out. What are you going to do? Oh, gee. No, take as much time as you want. I don't care. So that's the kind of question where the child particularly wants to play dumb. No. And they can do it about a job or something you want them to do. I'd like to have you, let's think of something that they probably wouldn't know how to do. Mop and wax the kitchen floor. Not a difficult job, but all right. I don't know how to do that. You don't know how to do it. Okay. Now, this is a little different. You don't have them sit down in a chair until they figure out. You say, come on out here and I'll show you. And you do a little bit of the mopping, and you say, now finish it up. And if you come back and it's not mopped right, you say, you need some more practice. See the training? You are a real trainer. I've got this educational process going on. You need more practice. Now, here's what you do. You remember to wring the mop out once in a while instead of just moving the dirt around. Okay? Oh, that's okay, honey. If you're a slow learner, I'm a very patient parent. Okay? You can take all day to learn how to mop. And then you can learn how to wax tomorrow. Because I'm not under any pressure. I don't need it mopped and waxed today. General Patton isn't showing up. So, okay. Oh, good. Now, oh, that's good. You've done a nice job of mopping. Yes, and you got the dirt up and it looks good. Now, we're going to do waxing. Let me show you waxing. This is waxing. Yeah? Take the handle. Yeah, this is the working end. Okay? Take the handle. Oh, good. You've got a good swing there. Now, just keep practicing that until you've covered the entire floor. Let's say do a lousy job, and you say, gosh, now you get to learn about stripping wax so that you can re-wax. Mom, that's okay, honey. Don't worry. Everybody has trouble in the beginning. After you've done it a few times, you'll have it down. Now, under those circumstances, we got a child who's doing the old passive bit. See, you can drag me to the fountain, but I ain't going to drink. I don't need to. Here's the salt lick. So, I don't know how. Well, then you'll just keep practicing till you learn. You know what happens? They suddenly get motivated to learn how. Because I don't like it when I don't know how. And the nice thing is, if they want to get out of something because they don't know how, that only works once. The next time around, if they say, I don't know how, you say, you don't know how? I thought you learned. Oh, I forgot. That's all right. We can start over and you can practice again. And since you're having so much trouble remembering, not only can you do the kitchen all over again, but you can do both of the bathrooms. And let's see, the laundry room is tiled, so you can do that one too. By that time, your memory ought to be really good. And I understand that you've got a poor memory, and it's hard for you to remember this, and you forget easily. So not only are you going to do all of those rooms, but you're going to do them again next week just to make sure that when you finally figure that you know it for sure, and you don't need any more practice, you come and tell me. Now, what are they going to do? In order to get out of doing this over and over and over again, they're going to come and say, I know how to do it. Now, what happens the next time they say, I don't know how? You say, I'm sorry, you told me you know how. Now, what's the alternative? The alternative to that is to argue with that kid about knowing perfectly well that they know how. Why get into an argument? Remember the 7 sins? Don't argue with them. If you don't know how, I will believe you, honey, because there's a way to make you miserable if you don't know how. More practice. Think of the number of places where that applies. Okay? Just use your own creativity. I don't know how to cut the grass. That's okay. I got 2 of the neighbors to volunteer their lawns. We're going to give you enough practice that you're going to be an expert by the end of the week. You what? You need practice. Why should I deny you practice? I'm not a mean parent. If that's what you need, that's what you get. I don't need any more. Oh, good. I was thinking of another situation with one of my sons again. Oh, boy. This is the same one that was playing the games and working in the gas station and finishing up high school. And he's since finished up college. But there was a situation where the lawn wasn't cut, and it had passed the date it was supposed to be, and I was gone. At the time, I was doing a lot of speaking and traveling a lot, so I wasn't home, and I got back on Monday, and the lawn hadn't been cut on the previous week. It was obvious it hadn't been cut. And so I called him in and said, hey, notice the front yard wasn't cut. Oh, yeah. I said, any reason? Well, I've been really busy. So, no big deal. I'm not going to jump all over. I said, okay, then get it done. I want it done by tomorrow. Because he was past the limit. I can choose the consequences now. I want it done by tomorrow. Not by next Saturday. I want it done by tomorrow. Well, tomorrow came. I got home. It hadn't been done. I called him in and I said, hey, I thought you were supposed to do that. And he says, well, Dad, I've been so busy. This guy's playing 3 baseball leagues and working in a gas station 20 hours a week and going to school. So he didn't have time for the front yard. So he says, Dad, I didn't have time for it. So I looked at him. I said, you didn't have time? No, I didn't have time. I said, oh, well, what's the number of that gas station? I can get you plenty of time. I mean, you got, you know, I'd call him up and say, my son needs more time for the lawn, so he's not working there anymore. He could cut the grass with a pair of tweezers in 20 hours. Well, he got, when I said, I was headed to the phone, I said, what's the number of that gas station? And he said, Dad, I think I can work it in. I said, good, I thought you could. Now, what's the alternative? The alternative is when he says you don't have time to get into that tongue lashing. What do you mean you don't have time? Don't give me that kind of stuff, young man. You get out there and you get that done. No. He says he doesn't have time. He's got a problem. I got a problem I can't solve, Dad. I don't know how to solve it. I don't have time. I can't think it through for myself. That's all right. I'll think it through for you. What's the number of that gas station? Oh, Dad, I don't think I want to have you think it through for me anymore. Oh, really? No, I think I want to get responsible and go take care of the grass. I thought you did. Because you don't like it when I treat you like a kid, do you? No. And you see, son, those are the only two options you've got. Because you don't get this one over here. It isn't, oh, I haven't had time, and oh, all right. Rotten kid. You don't do all of that. And you don't let them off the hook. There's nothing mean about what I did. It's a matter of that's reality. You were supposed to do it, get it done. Don't tell me your reasons why you didn't get it done. Get it done. It's like two people step off the top of a 10-story building. One did it on purpose and the other fell off accidentally. Do you think the results are any different at the bottom? The one is saying, oh, Lord, I didn't mean to fall off. I should bounce. And it says, there's no door 3. Boom. Let them know. Life is going to expect them to get the job done. And hopefully there will be enough sane people left out there that they won't be able to go around all the time saying, nobody expects anything of you anymore. I can get away with anything. Because that's one of the problems we have now in raising children is there are too many places out there where they look around and they say, there aren't any consequences anymore. And you're trying to say, yes, there are. And they're saying, well, only with you. And say, that's all right, because the people who are going to make it in the next generation are the ones who learned that, and they're going to support all the ones who didn't. And I'd rather make you part of the solution than part of the problem. Because believe me, although there's more work involved in being part of the solution, you'll be a whole lot happier. Those people who aren't doing it for themselves, who've never taken charge of their life, aren't all that happy. Okay, one last item. Had a teenager, about 14 or 15, high school, was out of high school, hadn't been doing well, hadn't worked hard, had ended up in continuation school. Now, I don't know what the rules are for that, but anyway, that's where she was. And she didn't go to school until noon. And her mother came to see me, and one of the problems she brought up, she says, you know, my daughter, when she went to continuation school. It used to be she was supposed to be at school at 8 in the morning. She never got to school on time. They finally bounced her out of there and put her in continuation school. Now she's got to be there at noon. And if she doesn't make it there on time, then she is going to be kicked out of continuation school, and she's going to be home all day, and that's going to drive me nuts. And so I said, well, what happens now? She says, well, every day it's a hassle. It's time for her to go. She's got to leave. And it's, I don't know where my shoes are. I forgot where to put my books. I haven't made a lunch yet. And she said, you know, get all this stuff together, and I'm rushing around there having to get her out the door, and by the time she gets out the door, I know she's not going to make it, so then I go out and get the car, and I get in and drive her to continuation school, which is about 10 blocks away. And I said, you want to solve this? She said, yeah. I said, okay, well then let's start working on it. What's going on all morning? What time does she get up? He said, oh, she gets up about 9 o'clock. And she needs to be ready at 11:30 to get out the door, or 11:40 or what, something like that, yeah. And she's up at 9 and she can't make it in that period of time? Yeah. I said, well, what'd she do? She said, oh, she watched soap operas. I said, oh? Why? She said, oh, she loves them. I said, so it's her favorite pastime? Yeah, absolutely. She wouldn't miss those soap operas. And I said, so what are you doing in the morning? She said, well, I'm busy, you know, doing housework and stuff. And you're letting her watch soap operas? Yeah. I said, well, let's take away some choices. I said, tomorrow morning when you come out, if she's watching the soap operas, you go over and you shut off the TV. And you say, honey, you don't watch any soap operas until you are ready for school. And that means everything. You've got your lunch made. Your books are sitting here. You've got your shoes on, not someplace under the couch or wherever you kicked them off last night. You are dressed and ready. Your hair is combed, everything. You can walk out the door. As soon as you are in that condition, you can watch the soaps. And this was a situation where the daughter was not going to defy her on this. So she got up, she went in, got dressed, came back out, watched the rest of her soaps. Mother came back to see me the next week, and I said, well, how did things going? She says, fine. She says, it worked. And I said, what's going on now? You know, when is she ready? And she says she's ready every morning at 9 o'clock. Because that's when her first soap comes on. And now she doesn't say another word to her. See, she made her responsible but held her accountable. It's up to you to be responsible and self-disciplined and get yourself ready before you watch the soaps. Now, if you want to control your consequence and watch the soaps, what do you have to do? You have to get ready on time, because if you're not ready on time, you don't watch them until you are ready. It wasn't like if you're not ready at 9, you don't get to watch them all morning. What's the point of that? It provides no motivation for the child to get on and get the job done. No, you're only going to miss as much as you decide to miss. But you are definitely going to miss it. Now, I don't know about you, but evidently, if you are really a soap addict, you hate to miss a minute of it. Now, my theory is you can watch a soap opera, wait 3 years, turn the same one on again, and you pretty well have got the plot. But that's my idea of it, you know. And that's not against anybody who loves soaps, because I might like something that you think is nuts. But anyway, this girl, 5 minutes without her soap, and she was going into withdrawal. So this was definitely the consequence to use. But it was also the obvious one. You don't get this until you do what you're supposed to. How many of you get paid before you go to work? How do we do it in the adult world? Hi, I'm coming to work for you. I'd like a month's pay. Good. We normally give one every month after you do it. You come to work, you work, then we pay you. You give me what I want. Since you want something from me, you give me what I want, and I will give you what you want. Your kids want control from you. You give me what I want, which is responsibility and self-discipline, and I will give you what you want, which is the right to figure things out for yourself and run as much of your life as you're willing to take control of. What you aren't willing to take control of, I will take control of, and I will figure out how it's going to be run. And you can have it any time you want it. But the way you prove that you want it is to take responsibility for it and get it done. And as long as you don't do that, then that is the only measure. See, I only look at the results. The whole idea of this program is, what's the result I want? This is the result I want long term, so I have to work at getting this result. With my child, in a specific situation, this is the result I want, like I want you ready for school before the soaps. That's what you have to work on. That's what you have to be responsible for. You do that, you control your consequences. I'll give you control if you will take responsibility for that. And what you don't, I just judge it on the results. If you're fiddling around at 9:30 and haven't gotten ready, I assume you want to miss that soap opera. I don't have to say, oh, I guess she really wanted to, so I'll tell her she can get ready later. No, if you aren't ready, I assume you didn't want to watch it. It wasn't important to you. If it isn't important to you, why should it be important to me? And I'm not going to feel guilty.